So, welcome to Supply Chain Secrets. And this week, we are going to be talking about what are the three things that people get wrong most of the time in their supply chains. And we're talking today to Stephen Thacker. He's going to give us some tips on that, coming right up. So working in the consulting industry, we see lots and lots of dramas in supply chain, but you get a pattern. Very often you see the same things coming up time and time again. And one of my fellow directors at Logistics Bureau, Stephen Thacker. Welcome, Stephen.
Good morning. Thank you, Rob.
And in your mind, what are the key things that people seem to get wrong all the time? What would be your top three?
Well, there's a long list, of course, so it's kind of hard to pick out the top three, but there are three that we see more regularly than any other, I think. And amongst those three, I would suggest firstly are tackling the wrong thing. So perhaps a quick case study. We had a call some time ago from an MD of a photocopier company. He had 6 warehouses across the country, one in each capital city for each of his photocopiers. But he also had 6 warehouses in the same capital cities for all of his consumables. So paper, toner, cartridges, those sorts of things. And he called us because he said, can you perhaps give us a proposal to consolidate those into one warehouse in each capital city? So you would think on the surface of it that that's not such a bad idea, and there's some logic behind that and some value behind that. But we had a discussion and then managed to convince him that what he really ought to understand firstly was whether his inventory levels were right. Because if you've got too much inventory, putting 2 warehouses together, both with too much inventory, just gives you a bigger warehouse, but still with too much inventory. So we ended up doing some work and analysing that and actually benchmarking it as well. And it turns out that his inventory levels for his copiers were just off the scale, more than anybody else in our database. And his consumables were not that far behind. So the real focus, therefore, became how do we optimize his inventory position? And then perhaps later, having done that, we can then talk about the size of the warehouse and potentially.
So don't tell us, did you manage to actually consolidate both warehouses kind of into one existing one?
Well, in actual fact, we didn't, because what we determined was that when we did that exercise and minimize the inventory, then we realized that he didn't need one in each state anyway.
Oh, okay.
So we were able to consolidate some of it nationally, particularly for items that that could move interstate and sort of overnight. So
that's a great example. So focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah, heading down the wrong track. And you know what? It's not that anybody ever comes to us with a dumb idea.
No.
It's just not the best idea. Or
I guess it's a bit like a doctor, isn't it? This is the symptom, but we've got to look at the cause, not the symptom.
Yeah, that's a terrific analogy, actually. And we're not doctors. Sometimes we need somebody externally to come in with the expertise and perhaps a fresh set of eyes to look at what's really causing the issue.
So number one, don't focus on the wrong thing. What would be number two?
Focus on the wrong thing. Number two is understanding, and here's a bitter pill to swallow, but we have to all understand that in our supply chains there are products and very often customers that just don't make any money. And some of those are perhaps justifiable and there's a good reason for it, or at least it has management approval. But so often we're blindsided by products that just don't make any money. And that's before they've even left the warehouse sometimes, before we've even delivered them. So typically we find that that could be in the 5 to 10% of products that a company stocks, but not knowing that means that we continue sometimes to perpetuate, particularly with sales influence, perpetuate this growth in the number of SKUs, not really understanding that in actual fact some of those, a bathware company that we know imports high value tapware from Italy, and these are extremely expensive taps. but the high-end range comes in 9 different colors.
Oh, don't tell me.
Yeah, and you guessed it.
I bet they got a really long tail on their inventory.
Huge tail. There's some of those are sitting there for 2 years and nobody's bought them, but the black, the chrome, and the white, they're going out like, well, not like hot potatoes, but they're certainly turning them over and selling them. So we've done the analysis and said to them, why do you range these, particularly since people are buying high-end, very expensive tap are prepared to wait a couple of weeks to get it. They're not usually in that much of a hurry to need to replace it tomorrow. So anyway, all of that is part of this exercise of understanding that some products and some customers, and of course the combination of the two, just don't make money.
So I mean that's really sort of understanding your cost to serve, isn't it?
That
and
is exactly
we've got a whole bunch of videos on the channel about that, and in fact we might even do chat through a case study on that. So we'll put a link up here to a couple of those videos that people can watch. Okay, so that's number 2. What will be your number 3?
Number 3 is perhaps interesting as well, and not necessarily something that you may rattle off the top of your head, like consolidating my warehouse or redesigning network design. It's really not having the bar high enough. So once again, quite often we'll see companies say to us, I need to save money in my transport, or I need to save money in warehousing, or my customer service cost is too high, in any area of the supply chain. But there's no real understanding of why that is and what the gap is. So it's fine to say, I think it's too high, but based on what?
Yeah.
And sometimes there must be something magic about the number 10, because everybody wants a 10% improvement.
Yes.
Can you reduce my cost by 10%? Well, I don't know why it's 10, but should it be 50?
Yeah.
Should it be 100? You know, we've done some exercises I know that you know about with the beverage company, where the cost reduction target that we were given was this magical 10%. But because we took the blinkers off and weren't targeting 10, we were targeting as much as we could possibly be creative as we could be. It was 54%.
Yes.
So if we had limited our thinking and our direction and our effort on 10%, that we probably would have got it. We would have got it, no doubt. But we got 54 because we how high could we make the bar? So that's the other one.
Yeah. No, that's great. So to summarize those 3, it was number 1 was focusing on the wrong thing. So your example there of let's consolidate the warehouses, but we should have consolidated the inventory. Understanding the margins on your products, which is really sort of cost to serve, and not setting the bar high enough. And we see that with a lot of companies, don't we? Where they're comfortable, they're coasting along and just making marginal improvements, whereas actually potentially you could make a big jump if you were bold enough and wanted to have a look at it.
Exactly. That's that latent potential which is just sitting there and can be untapped. But you just got to have a different view.
No, that's really good. Great 3. Thank you for that, Stephen. If you're watching this and you can think of some other areas where you think supply chains really need to try and improve, we'd love to see your comments down below. If you've got any questions on what we've talked about, do comment down below. And if you're not subscribed to our channel, you might want to think about that, because we have new videos coming out every week. So if you hit that red subscribe button and the bell, you'll get notified every time we have a new video coming out. So thank you for watching this week, and thank you, Stephen, for sharing those great thoughts.
Pleasure. Cheers.